If I could look at just one health number and use it to make a rough guess about who is more likely to stay alive, functional, and independent for longer, I would not start with cholesterol. I would not start with blood pressure. I would not start with body weight. I'd start with a number most people never hear about until they get deep into fitness. And the unsettling part is this. When researchers compared it with some of the risk factors we obsess over in medicine, low scores on this one metric were associated with a risk that was as bad as or worse than some of the traditional warning signs we talk about all the time. So the real question is not just what this number is. The real question is why almost nobody is measuring it before it's too late. The number is VO2 max. In simple terms, it's the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use when exercise gets hard. And that sounds like something that only matters if you're training for a marathon, but it doesn't. Because VO2 max is really a stress test for your whole system. It reflects how well your lungs bring oxygen in, how well your heart pumps it, how well your blood vessels deliver it, and how well your muscles actually use it. Stanford's sports cardiology program describes formal VO2 max testing as exercising on a treadmill, bike, or rower while wearing a mask that measures your oxygen intake as the effort gradually ramps up. In other words, this is not a vanity metric. It is a full-body performance report. Now, to be clear, cholesterol and blood pressure still matter. Of course they do. High blood pressure can injure the lining of arteries. Poor cholesterol profiles can help plaque build over time. Those are real risks, and they deserve attention. But here's the limitation. Each of those markers tells you something important about one slice of the story. VO2 max tells you how strong the entire machine is when demand rises, and that difference matters. The American Heart Association made the case years ago that cardiorespiratory fitness should be treated almost like a clinical vital sign because it predicts mortality at least as strongly as familiar risk factors like smoking, hypertension, high cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes. That is a remarkable statement when you stop and think about it. And this is where the research becomes hard to ignore. In 2018, Cleveland Clinic researchers looked at 122,007 adults who underwent treadmill testing. They split people into performance groups from low to elite fitness. What they found was extraordinary. After adjusting for other factors, the people in the lowest fitness group had about a 5-fold higher risk of death than the elite group. Even more striking, the mortality risk associated with poor fitness was comparable to or greater than traditional clinical risk factors like smoking, diabetes, and even known coronary disease. And there was no obvious upper ceiling where high fitness suddenly stopped helping. The fittest people did best. So why is VO2 max so powerful? Because it captures something blood tests can't fully capture. Reserve. Life does not kill people only through slow plaque buildup. It also tests you through infections, surgery, falls, bed rest, chronic disease, and aging itself. Two people can have the same cholesterol and the same blood pressure on paper, but if one of them has a strong cardiorespiratory system and the other doesn't, they are not carrying the same margin of safety into older age. A higher VO2 max usually means you have more capacity before everyday stress becomes overwhelming. That reserve can be the difference between recovering from a setback and never quite returning to baseline. And this is the part I think most people miss. VO2 max is not just about cardio. It is one of the clearest markers of how well your organs cooperate under load. Your heart has to pump, your lungs have to exchange gas, your circulation has to deliver oxygen, your muscles have to extract and use it. If any part of that chain is weak, the number drops. That is why it can tell you so much. Cholesterol might tell you something important about risk. Blood pressure might tell you something important about strain. But VO2 max tells you in a much broader sense how capable the body is when it is asked to actually do something. So what do you do with this information? First, don't turn it into guilt. Turn it into direction.
The CDC recommendation for adults is at least 150 minutes a week of moderate aerobic activity, plus 2 days a week of muscle strengthening work. That is the baseline. And if your goal is specifically to improve cardiorespiratory fitness, the usual recipe is simple. Do more easy aerobic work consistently, then layer in some harder efforts once or twice a week as your body tolerates it. The formal lab test is the gold standard, but even if you never do one, this should still change how you think, because the easiest numbers to measure are not always the most revealing numbers.
So if you remember one thing from this video, let it be this. Do not confuse the numbers you hear about most often with the numbers that matter most for your future. Keep an eye on your cholesterol. Respect your blood pressure, absolutely. But if you want a number that reflects how much life your body may have in reserve, how well your systems function together, and why some people seem to age with far more resilience than others, VO2 max deserves a place near the very top of the list. And unlike a prescription, this is one of the few health metrics that still has to be earned, which is exactly why it may matter so much.